Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really cutting through the noise, bringing you a focused look at metta, or loving kindness meditation. And this isn't just, ancient wisdom. It's a practice with some really powerful, scientifically backed results, stuff that can genuinely shift your inner world and how you connect with others.
Absolutely. It's quite profound.
We've gone through a lot of sources, everything from ancient Pāli scriptures like the Karaṇīya Mettā Sutta.
That's the one. A cornerstone.
Right. All the way to cutting-edge neuroscience papers and psychological studies. So our mission here, for you listening, is basically to give you a clear shortcut to really get what metta is, how to practice it, and the kind of surprising benefits it offers.
Yeah, let's unpack it.
Okay, let's jump in. To start us off, what does metta actually mean? Like, beyond just loving kindness.
Right. Well, metta, it's a Pāli word, and it stems from mitra.
Mitra.
Yeah, which means friend. So right there at its root, you get this sense of steady, reliable warmth, like a true friendship. It gets translated in a few ways: loving kindness, friendliness, benevolence. But the Pāli commentators, they got really specific.
How so?
They defined it as parahita parasukha kamana.
Bit of a mouthful.
It is, but it means the strong wish for the welfare and happiness of others.
Ah, strong wish. That sounds active.
Exactly. That's the key takeaway. It highlights that metta isn't some passive feeling you just wait around for. It's an active, intentional mental state, a directed aspiration.
So is it different from the kind of love we usually talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Conventional love, which can sometimes be possessive.
Precisely. That's a really crucial distinction to make. Conventional love, which in Pāli is called pema, can be selective or, rooted in attachment, what we get out of it.
Right.
Metta, though, is fundamentally altruistic. It's all-embracing. The idea is that it becomes universal, totally unselfish, a desire for the happiness of all beings.
All beings, without exception.
Without exception, and importantly, without expecting anything back. As you cultivate it, the practice helps you systematically overcome those barriers we put up, social, personal, whatever.
Okay. And are there internal roadblocks, things that work against developing this kind of goodwill?
Oh, definitely. Buddhist psychology talks about two enemies of metta.
Enemies. Okay.
Yeah. The far enemy is the obvious one: hatred, ill will. Dosa in Pāli. It's direct opposite.
Makes sense.
But then there's the near enemy, which is trickier, more subtle.
Which is?
Selfish attachment or greed. Lobha. This one's dangerous because it can look like metta. It mimics that warmth.
Oh.
Well, it feels good, but it's self-serving deep down. It's rooted in what the other person provides for you, what you gain. Spotting that difference is vital if you want the practice to be authentic, truly selfless.
That's a really important nuance. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So is it less about waiting for a feeling and more about actively building an intention?
You got it. Metta is a cognitive, affective state involving thoughts and feelings that you actively, methodically cultivate. The practice itself is called metta bhavarana, which means cultivation or development. It's a deliberate, sustained effort. Think of it like training in mental discipline to generate that wish for well-being.
And the warm feelings.
They might come, sure. Feelings of warmth, joy, their potential outcomes. But they aren't the prerequisite. You're building the intention first and foremost.
That clarifies it beautifully. Okay, to really grasp its power, we should probably look at its origins. That Karaṇīya Mettā Sutta you mentioned, why is that ancient text considered so foundational?
Well, the story behind it is just so compelling, and it perfectly illustrates metta's practical power. So the Buddha apparently delivered this teaching to a group of monks. They were meditating in a forest, and they were being terrorized by hostile earth divas, spirits, basically.
Seriously?
Terrorists.
Yeah, they were genuinely frightened, scared out of their wits apparently, couldn't meditate. So what did the Buddha do? Give them a magic charm or something, a protective ritual?
Nope. That's what's so interesting. He didn't offer a quick fix like that. He gave them the Metta Sutta. He called it a transformative approach, their true weapon of protection.
A weapon of loving kindness.
Kind of, yeah. He told the monks, go back, recite the sutta, and genuinely cultivate and radiate metta, really mean it.
What happened?
A profound shift. First, their genuine loving kindness calmed their own fear. Once they weren't afraid, that feeling radiated outwards and actually soothed the hostile divas.
Wow.
Yeah. The harassment stopped, and the story goes they even became protective towards the monks.
That's incredible.
It really is, and it powerfully demonstrates a core Buddhist idea. The state of your mind isn't just an internal thing. It can genuinely influence your experience and, arguably, the world around you.
So the sutta isn't just a story, it's like a blueprint for how to do this.
Exactly. It's structured very deliberately in two parts. Part one lays down this really solid foundation of ethical conduct.
Ethics first.
Wow. Because, as the sutta outlines, you need certain qualities. Being upright, humble, content, living simply, not causing trouble. The insight is brilliant, really. An agitated mind, one tied up in unwholesome actions, just can't generate stable metta. Inner peace needs a basis of, living well.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second part?
The second part is the actual meditative radiation. It kicks off with that core intention. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds.
Simple but powerful.
Very. And then the sutta does something remarkable. It systematically expands who all beings includes.
How does it do that?
It breaks down categories to make sure no one is left out. Wishing well for beings timid and fearless, long, large, medium, short, tiny, massive.
Wow, comprehend.
Seen and unseen, near and far, already born or seeking birth. It's designed to methodically dismantle our usual biases, our tendency to exclude.
And there's that famous metaphor too, right?
Ah, yes, the ultimate metaphor. As a mother would protect her only child at the risk of her own life, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart.
That really hits home. Fierce, protective, unconditional.
Exactly. And this boundless heart isn't just for meditation time. It's meant to be cultivated above, below, and all around, always in all activities, standing, walking, sitting, lying down. A divine abiding, the text calls it, right here, right now.
It's clearly deeply embedded in Buddhist thought.
Yeah.
How does metta fit into the wider picture, say, across different schools like Theravāda and Mahāyāna?
It's fundamental in both, really, though maybe emphasized slightly differently. In the Theravāda tradition, it's number one, the first of the four divine abodes, the Brahma Viharas.
Divine abodes.
Yeah, these sublime states of mind you cultivate. Metta is seen as the essential starting point for the others. Karuna, which is compassion.
Okay.
Mudita, sympathetic joy, being happy for others. And upekkha, equanimity or balance. Metta is the direct antidote to hatred and lays the groundwork for the rest.
And it's also one of the...
Right. One of the 10 paramis, or perfections. These are transcendent virtues that someone aiming for Buddhahood cultivates over countless lifetimes. So metta isn't just a mental exercise. It's crucial for the highest spiritual path.
So it's foundational in Theravāda. What about Mahāyāna Buddhism? Does it take on a different role there?
In Mahāyāna, metta becomes the absolutely indispensable foundation for something called Bodhicitta.
Bodhicitta, I've heard that term. What is it exactly?
Bodhicitta is this incredibly vast, altruistic aspiration. It's the wish to attain full enlightenment Buddhahood, not just for yourself, but for the specific purpose of liberating every single other sentient being from suffering.
Wow. That's a huge commitment.
It's immense. And metta, along with karuna, compassion, is the root. You start with that boundless wish for all beings to be happy, metta, and free from suffering, karuna. When you really feel that deeply, you inevitably recognize the sheer scale of suffering in the world, and frankly, the limits of your own ability to help as you are now.
Right, you realize you need more capacity.
Exactly, and that sparks the profound aspiration. I need to become a Buddha so that I can effectively guide all these beings to freedom. So, if metta is the heartfelt wish, well, bodhicitta is like the ultimate strategic plan to make that wish a reality for everyone. It transforms goodwill into total commitment.
That's a powerful progression. Okay, let's get practical. How does someone actually do metta bhavana? What's the step-by-step? How do we cultivate this boundless heart?
Right, the how-to. It's actually a very systematic meditative technology. You could almost think of it like weightlifting for the heart. You build strength progressively.
So there's a sequence.
Yes, a traditional graduated sequence, moving from easier objects of affection to more challenging ones.
Makes sense. Where do you begin?
You start with yourself.
Yourself, not someone else.
Yourself first. This is absolutely foundational. It's hard to genuinely wish well for others if you're full of self-criticism or negativity. So step one is cultivating self-acceptance, self-compassion.
Okay, starting with oneself, then what?
Then you extend those feelings, those well wishes, to a benefactor or a loved one, someone you feel natural warmth and gratitude towards, maybe a teacher, a good friend, family member. This helps amplify the positive feelings. Easy target, basically.
Got it. What's next?
Stage 3 is a neutral person.
Neutral. Like who?
Someone you see, maybe, but don't really know. The cashier at the store, a neighbor you just nod to, someone you feel, well, neutral about, neither strong like nor dislike.
Why them?
This step is crucial for training the mind to universalize the goodwill beyond your attachments and usual preferences.
Ah, okay. Expanding the circle, and then comes the hard part, I imagine.
Yep. Stage 4 is directing metta towards a difficult person, someone you have conflict with or negative feelings towards.
Oof. That sounds tough.
It is tough, and it's really important to understand that this is an internal practice. You're working on transforming your own aversion, your resentment, your anger. You're not condoning their harmful behavior, not at all. You're just trying to replace ill will with non-ill will in your own heart.
That's a key distinction. And the final stage.
Finally, you culminate by extending loving kindness to all beings, everyone, everywhere. Often this involves visualization, maybe seeing a radiant light flowing out from your heart in all directions, touching all beings. This is where you really actualize Metta's universal, boundless quality.
That's a very clear progression. What are the actual tools you use during this? You mentioned phrases.
Exactly. The primary tool is the silent, mindful repetition of specific phrases of well-wishing.
Like mantras.
Sort of, but they're not meant to be mindless. They're vehicles for focusing your heartfelt intention. The meaning matters.
What kind of phrases?
Common ones revolve around 4 core wishes. May I be safe, or may you be safe? May I or you be healthy? May I or you be happy? And may I or you be peaceful and live with ease? Something along those lines.
Simple phrases.
Simple but profound. You repeat them gently, letting the meaning really sink in, letting it permeate your awareness. And you can enhance it too. Visualization helps picturing the person smiling, happy, peaceful, or imagining warm light flowing from your heart to theirs, and also tuning into bodily sensations, noticing feelings of warmth or openness, maybe around the chest or heart area. It makes it more embodied, less purely cognitive.
It's amazing how systematic this ancient practice is. Which brings us to the modern science. Let's bridge that gap. What does the rigorous research actually tell us about the benefits of LKM loving kindness meditation, as it's often called now?
Well, the science has been really validating, actually. It's confirmed a lot of what the tradition suggested. LKM has shown significant promise for mood disorders, for instance.
Like depression?
Yes. Several studies show really quite large reductions in depressive symptoms. We're talking big effect sizes. It also seems very effective at reducing rumination, that tendency to get stuck in negative thought loops.
What about anxiety?
Also effective there. There was one notable study with military veterans dealing with PTSD. A 12-week LKM course significantly reduced both their depression and their trauma symptoms. These are real, clinically meaningful changes.
So it definitely helps with negative emotional states? Does it also, actively boost the positive ones?
Absolutely, and that's probably one of the most robust findings. There was a landmark study back in 2008 by Barbara Fredrickson.
Oh, the broaden and build theory person.
That's her. Her study found that people practicing LKM reported significant increases across a whole range of positive emotions, things like love, joy, gratitude, contentment, hope.
So it's not just feeling good for a moment.
No, it seems to kick off what she calls an upward spiral. These positive emotions, according to her theory, broaden our mindset, make us more open, more creative. And that, in turn, helps us build durable personal resources, things like better mindfulness, a stronger sense of purpose, better social connections, even fewer physical illness symptoms over time.
A positive feedback loop.
Exactly, leading to higher life satisfaction and, again, reduced depressive symptoms down the line.
That's fascinating. And how does doing this practice affect how we see ourselves and how we interact with others?
Yeah, it seems to directly address things like self-criticism and feelings of isolation. LKM has been shown to be highly effective at reducing that inner critic voice and boosting self-compassion.
Makes sense, starting with yourself.
Right. And then by practicing extending that goodwill outwards, it naturally enhances empathy, feelings of connection with others. Research shows it leads to more positive social interactions, maybe even greater relationship stability. There's even evidence it can decrease implicit bias, those unconscious negative attitudes towards groups different from our own.
Really? Implicit bias?
Yeah, some studies suggest that. It fosters that sense of common humanity.
And you mentioned physical health benefits too.
Yes, the benefits seem to cross into the physical realm. It's been shown to help alleviate some types of chronic pain, like lower back pain or migraines, likely by reducing the emotional stress component.
Okay.
It also seems to improve physiological markers of well-being, things like increased vagal tone that's linked to better emotional regulation and resilience, and reduced markers of stress-induced inflammation in the body.
Wow. Anything else?
Well, this is more preliminary, but there's even some intriguing research suggesting LKM might play a role in slowing biological aging. One study found that experienced female practitioners had longer telomeres.
Telomeres, the caps on our chromosomes.
Exactly. They tend to shorten with age and stress. So longer telomeres are generally associated with better health and longevity. Early days for that research, but fascinating.
It's genuinely profound to think our brains can physically adapt like this. What does that rewiring actually look like? What's happening inside when someone practices metta?
Well, it all comes down to neuroplasticity, right? The brain's amazing ability to change its structure and function based on experience. And LKM seems to be a powerful driver of that. Neuroimaging studies, using fMRI, for instance, show that long-term practitioners tend to have greater cortical thickness, literally more brain tissue in certain key areas.
Which areas we're talking about?
Key regions include the insula, particularly the right anterior insula. This area is critical for interoception, sensing your own internal bodily state and integrating those sensations with emotional awareness. It's fundamental for subjective feeling and empathy.
So feeling your feelings and maybe others.
Exactly, affective empathy. Then there are changes in parietal lobe regions like the temporoparietal junction or TPJ and the angular gyrus. These areas are crucial for perspective taking, distinguishing self from other, what's sometimes called theory of mind or cognitive empathy.
Understanding others' viewpoints.
Right. And interestingly, activity here often correlates with reduced self-referential thinking and more pro-social behavior. Less me, me, me.
What about emotional control?
We see increased activation in areas like the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, and parts of the prefrontal cortex. These are hubs for higher order emotional regulation, decision-making, keeping yourself in check.
And the amygdala. The fear center.
LKM seems to modulate activity there too. It can help downregulate the amygdala's reactivity, especially to negative stuff. So you're less likely to fly off the handle, basically fostering a calmer baseline state.
So it's not just one spot lighting up, it's a whole network.
Precisely. It's about strengthening the connections between these networks, integrating emotional awareness from the insula, perspective taking from the TPJ, and top-down regulation from the prefrontal areas. It provides a real neurological basis for cultivating that integrated heart-mind the Buddhists talk about.
A truly holistic transformation. Okay,
Yeah.
But let's be real. No practice is always easy. What kind of hurdles do people typically run into when they try to practice metta? And how does it stack up against other compassion practices?
Yeah, it's definitely not always smooth sailing. People run into obstacles. A common one is feeling emotionally numb, or like you're just saying empty words without any real feeling behind them.
Like you're faking it.
Exactly. Or just plain old restlessness and distraction, the mind wandering everywhere but the practice. That's pretty universal in meditation, of course. Then there can be active resistance. When directing metta to yourself, all that inner criticism might flare up. And when you try to send it to a difficult person, sometimes anger or resentment actually feels stronger initially.
That sounds counterintuitive.
It can be. It's like you're shining a light on those feelings. And of course, there's always that near enemy lurking, mistaking sentimental attachment or conditional affection, maybe even lust, for genuine selfless metta.
Right, that tricky distinction again. So what do you do if you hit these roadblocks? How do you work with them?
Well, I think the most critical shift is mental. It's reframing the goal. You're not trying to force a particular feeling. You're aiming to cultivate the intention of kindness.
Yeah.
Focus on the sincerity of the wish itself, even if the feeling isn't there yet.
Intention over feeling. Okay.
Also, try connecting with basic empathy. Remind yourself, this person, just like me, wants to be happy. They want to be free from suffering. That shared ground can help.
What if starting with yourself is just too hard?
Use a scaffold. Start with an easier object. A beloved pet, a small child, that benefactor figure we talked about. Someone where the positive feelings flow more easily. Build momentum there first.
Good tip.
And just basic meditation skills apply. Patience. Acknowledging distractions gently, bringing the mind back without judgment. Slow down the phrases. And importantly, metta doesn't exist in a vacuum. It needs to be balanced.
Balanced with what?
With wisdom, paññā, and Pāli. Recognizing reality, understanding cause and effect, setting appropriate boundaries. Metta isn't about being naive or letting people walk all over you. And it needs balance with equanimity upekkha, that ability to remain steady and balanced, especially when faced with others' suffering or hostility, so you don't get overwhelmed or burn out.
Wisdom and equanimity. Got it. And how does metta compare to other practices in that compassion family?
Well, metta, the wish for happiness, is often seen as the foundation. It naturally leads into karuna, or compassion, which is specifically the wish for beings to be free from suffering. It's what metta feels when it encounters pain.
Metta plus suffering, karuna.
Kind of, yeah. And then in some traditions, especially Tibetan Mahāyāna, you have practices like Tonglen.
Tonglen, giving and taking.
That's the one. It's a powerful, direct application of karuna. On the in-breath, you visualize actively taking in the suffering of others, maybe as dark smoke. You transform it within yourself. Then, on the out-breath, you send out relief, happiness, healing perhaps as radiant light.
That sounds intense.
It is. Tonglen directly, courageously engages with suffering, trying to reverse our usual egoic pattern of pushing away pain and grasping at pleasure. It's generally considered a more challenging, maybe more confrontational practice than the standard metta sequence.
A really rich landscape of practices. Okay, so wrapping things up, metta clearly has these deep ancient roots, incredible scientific validation now.
Yeah.
How does it actually fit into our busy, often chaotic, modern lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, one way is through its secular adaptation. Metta, often just called LKM, has been widely adopted in places like clinical psychology, even corporate wellness programs.
Right, taken out of the purely Buddhist context.
Exactly. In these settings, the goal usually shifts a bit. It's less about ultimate spiritual liberation and more focused on immediate psychological and physiological well-being in this life. You know, reducing stress, improving emotional regulation, enhancing empathy, fostering better relationships.
And it gets integrated into therapies.
Yeah, it's become a component in evidence-based programs like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. The methodology is often adapted too, maybe simplifying the phrases, making the sequence more flexible to suit modern needs.
So the core idea is adaptable. But beyond formal programs or meditation sessions, how can people weave this into just everyday life?
That's where its true power really comes alive, I think, when it moves from a formal practice to a continuous lived ethic.
How do you do that?
You can use everyday moments as triggers. Turn idle time, waiting in line, stuck in traffic, the phone ringing into a chance for momentary metta. Just a quick, silent wish. May you be happy, directed at whoever comes to mind, or even a stranger you see.
Little kindness hits throughout the day.
Exactly. Mindful communication is another huge one. Consciously choosing to speak gently, kindly, truthfully, especially when you disagree with someone that's metta in action.
Using conflict as practice.
Yes. Conflict becomes an opportunity. When you feel that reactivity rising, anger, fear, resentment towards someone, try using the metta phrases internally, directed at them, or maybe even yourself. It doesn't magically solve the external issue usually.
Right.
But what it can do is de-escalate your own internal reaction. It creates a bit of space, allows you to see more clearly, and maybe respond from a wiser, more compassionate place rather than just reacting defensively.
And ultimately, it leads to action.
It should. The cultivated intention, that inner benevolence, ideally translates into tangible actions in the world. Acts of generosity, offering help when you see a need, providing support. It moves from thought and feeling into actual kindness.
So reflecting on everything we've discussed, this deep dive really shows metta isn't just some nice ancient idea. It's this living, breathing practice, validated by science, and honestly, a really potent tool for changing ourselves and maybe changing how we engage with the whole world.
Yeah, you could almost call it a scalable technology for the human heart.
I like that. A scalable technology for the human heart. And maybe, in a world that often feels like it's pulling us apart, intentionally cultivating this kind of kindness offers a pretty profound way to reconnect with ourselves first, and then with everyone around us. So maybe something for you to consider as you go about your day. What's one small way, one small act of metta that you can cultivate in your own life today?